it's like. Hey everybody, this is Clark from Clark's Cosplays, and in today's video, I'm going to show you how I upgraded my Chief from this to this. So I ended up having a little bit of a mishap after MomoCon, and it was okay, because I was already planning to upgrade. When I designed the chest, I didn't properly have it sized for me. So with this build, I upgraded to the Halo Infinite version, as well as having it properly sized to my body. And in this video, I'm going to show you the process how I finished this print. You can use this process and apply it to any other armor builds or 3D print builds that you do as well. So let's get started. So for this, I'm going to use some Bondo glazing and spot putty. I'm going to fill in the seams from where I put the two halves together. It's already been super glued. I'm going to use some of the spot putty to help fill in these gaps all the way through here, both on the inside and the outside. And all I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit on my finger. Make sure you're wearing gloves for this. And I'm just going to smear it across and push it across the seams. That way you can work the putty inside the small gaps, both on the inside and the outside. So here, as you can see, the print is a little rough. This is from where the tree supports were. I'm going to do the same kind of thing, apply the Bondo to my finger, and work it in on all these spots. Right. So as you can see, now this is dried, you can still see my wear lines here. It's still pretty rough. I mean, granted, I haven't sanded any of this yet, but what I am going to do is go ahead and continue to apply with gloved fingers some of the Bondo spot putty. A little bit. Light layer, and help fill in some of these lines as much as you can with Bondo. Let it all dry, and then end up sanding, filler primering, the usual. So, because of the way I printed this on this side, this was the side that was down towards the build plate, so that's why this is more rough than the opposite side here. I did that kind of as a test to see if it would print the whole thing better. It did print faster, less supports. It's a little bit more of a rougher finish on this side. So it just means more work for me on the back side. Much more fine layer lines. We can hit with a little bit of Bondo acetone mixture, so I'll be mixing it there. If it really needs it. If not, most of the time with a lot of these spots here, you can just hit it with a few coats of the filler primer. That's what I typically do on most of the standard 3D print lines. On this go around, I am testing a little bit with my Mandalorian of using the process that I've seen other people use. It seems to work well, and that is the Bondo acetone mixture, or like Liquitex. And then with that, you just kind of, you paint it on, sand it off, then hit it with primer. Fills in the lines a little bit better, faster supposedly. I haven't had very much issues with my previous prints to require that, but I know this might, make me be able to finish these much faster. So for the painting on, it's not really the exact science, at least not for me. Just kind of squirt a little bit the Bondo to there. Acetone, this is the one I used, picked up at Walmart. There's kind of more. Splash in some acetone. For this, you're definitely going to want to wear gloves, just so you don't get it all on your hands. Take a paintbrush, mix it all up. So I might have a little too much acetone in here. In that case, just add some more Bondo. And you'll take it, just paint it. The idea is that the Bondo, the acetone helps the Bondo dry a little faster, as well as makes it a little bit more spreadable, paintable. And this will help fill in some of those lines. So that way you'll have to theoretically use less filler primer, less sanding, less post-processing. Here you can see I already hit, using the finger method, the seam where I put the two halves together. But you can kind of see here, that's just a little spot that happened during the 3D printing process. But by painting on filler, the Bondo helps get into those cracks pretty good. And then you can sand stuff over, hit it with the filler primer, and that'll fill the cracks even more. So something I'm going to do also for these cracks, on the inside I'm going to use, it's made by JB Weld, to help mold the seams together and hold them. It'll be nice and strong, so it won't have what happened to my previous chest and back piece. This most recent con over at MomoCon, I ended up shifting and cracking the seam, where before, when I didn't know any better, I just used Bondo, super glue and Bondo to fill the cracks. I kind of act like the Bondo was going to be a good adhesive sealant kind of a thing to hold the pieces together. That was not quite the case, as it does very good at filling in cracks, but when it dries, if you want to use a lot of it for something, it is more brittle, kind of like a clay. And it's always good to continuously stir this up. This is a little bit more how you want the consistency. As you can see, basically painting this whole upper area to fill in the print lines. And one of the things you're going to want to keep in mind is you're going to want to be using this on areas where you're going to be able to sand. So some of the smaller areas with finer detailed areas where you won't be able to get sander in, or the sandpaper is going to be difficult to really get a good job, you might not want to use a whole lot of this, because while it fills in the lines, it also leaves a lot of extra, so it doesn't do it completely perfectly. So there's going to be a bit to sand off. This is all dried from earlier. I'm gonna hit it with the palm sander here. It's a little Black & Decker mouse. I'm gonna start with 120 on some of these heavy spots. and see how it goes from there. All right, previously I believe I mentioned the plastic bonder that I used to reinforce seams on my legs. This is what I used. It's JB Weld plastic bonder, high strength structural adhesive. Twist the cap and then squeeze it out. There's two different compounds here. You know, one's the adhesive and the other is the accelerant that actually mixes it together and causes it all to dry. I'm going to use this on the internal seam here. You know, this is the Bondo that I used to help push through and fill the crack. But on the inside, I'm going to use the plastic bonder to reinforce this seam to keep this all together. All right. As you can see, you have your catalyst and you have your adhesive. Keep using it on some spots, doing it all on the inside. Spread it across the seams. And then when you're done, light side, dark side, light side, dark side. Plug it back in and seal it up, twist it. So I previously started to hit this with a little bit of the filler primer spray. While doing that, I realized that there's a little bit of a seam starting here from where the print paused and restarted that I had to reinforce here. So I stopped that, went through and started hitting it up with doing the Bondo and Acetone. Brushing that on, did multiple coats again on the back piece here. As you can see, I already did a couple layers, sanded, hit some of the spots again just to get a real good finish on it, because there's still some of the layer lines from the supports on the one side and just parts of the print on the other. I've already started to hit this with a palm sander. I got 320 grit on here right now. That's the highest I have for the sander. It works good for all these parts here. Once I hit everything with the filler primer, I'm gonna go over with it by hand with like 320 grit, 400. I even have like some crazy ones up into the thousands. I probably won't even have to go that far, but I want to get a nice smooth finish, make sure there's none of those layer lines. I don't want to go too slow or linger too long, because then, it's plastic. So if you put it there too long, the friction and everything from the sandpaper and the sander is going to melt it, actually cause more damage to it, make it rougher when we're trying to make it smooth. So I like doing those nice, easy, leisurely kind of passes. Just do a few passes back and forth. And so far it's coming out pretty good. Hit some of these little spots in here with the hand sander, and then this will probably be good. I'll try another coat of the filler primer. With the print being black and the filler primer being so light, it shows those like inconsistencies, where it's not fully smooth, where it's not fully rough. It shows the lines a little bit more where it's very off. So these spots here, I didn't Bondo, so it has the just standard print lines, which filler primer works pretty good at filling those in. I'm not too worried about that. But it was like up here, or if you have two pieces stuck together, you fuse them together, like here on the back, when I have these two halves together, that filler primer is really gonna show gaps. Or you can look at it and think like, oh, that's level, that's connected, run your finger over it, you don't really feel anything, you hit it with the filler primer and bam, there's the line. It really helps to point some of that stuff out. But on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and switch out the sandpaper. Let's get to it. So here, just a sheet of 320. What I'm going to do now is some of these spots here that I couldn't get the sander into, just touch it up with the sander. One of the things to think about, one of the things why I'm not terribly worried about some of these spots, is how you end up painting and weathering your armor. You can really, through like shading and coloration, hide and more or less conceal some of the little blemishes and things like that, and just make it part of the armor. You know, make it part of like a battle damage, or you know, it's armor. It's been forged, it's been welded, it's been repaired. You're gonna have some of these weld lines in certain places, and that just helps add to the authenticity. You know, 'cause what do they say? A knight in shining armor has never truly been tested. I mean, come on, Master Chief. It's been tested by everything. So this is multiple coats of filler primer, both the chest and the back. I'm mostly satisfied with this. Now I'm going to start doing some sanding. That'll get some of these, like, you might not be able to quite see here, but a little bit of the filler primer dripped and pulled up. Not a big deal. You can take that out with some sanding. Get rid of some of these little flecks as well. Before I start sanding it, I'm going to reinforce some of these seams. And what I didn't think about, realize before, is that the packaging actually has a neat little mixing tray. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put some of this in here, mix it up with a little stick that they bring, use my finger, and just rub it on here like I did some of these other spots. Okay, so this has multiple coats now, probably about 2 to 3 at least of the filler primer. Gonna start sanding it. I started to do a little bit of sanding yesterday, but I had not properly let the stuff dry. So this time I have some 400 grit, probably between some 320 and 400 grit, just to get these pieces sanded. Like I had said before, for these parts here, just because it's getting the filler primer off, I do not want to use a power sander. I don't want to take off too much. I don't want to get too overboard with it. Can't control it as much. Power sander is great for, you know, the raw print, getting a lot of the thick, bigger pieces off. Now, some of these spots here, like some of these little nooks and crannies, try and get the sander as best you can. And you're not obviously going to be able to get all the way in there. In the grand scheme of it all, especially in this case, these smaller areas here are going to have darker shading to it. Rough smoothness of it all, you're not really going to be able to notice because it's going to be darker. Fun fact. This chest piece right here, the first thing I printed on my Cobra 2 Max. Came out real well, my first go. Felt so excited. Then after that, next few prints I had some issues with. How the setup was, so more in the end how I placed the file. On the back here, I might need to hit some spots with some filler primary stuff again. I don't know. All right, we should be good now for our first coat of the green spray paint. It is satin oregano from Rust-Oleum. Now, as the case with everything, these are going to get at least 2 coats of paint. Brought that one inside to dry just because the temperature and humidity out here. I don't want it to mess anything up too bad. Alright, now for the first coat of the green acrylic. For this, I just use your basic olive green from Craftsmart. You can pick it up at Michael's. For this, you're just going to use the olive green. Get yourself one of these little paint trays. Again, got it at Michael's. And some craft paint sponges. You're going to want the sponges for the texture that it'll give you. You're just going to get some of the green paint on the end of the sponge, and you're just going to smack it on. Now when you do this with slapping it on, you're going to want it to have a little bit of that bubbly appearance that is going to translate very well when it dries to give it more of a textured look, a little more of a realistic appearance. Here's what it looks like, all painted and dried. So for this next part, it's going to be the darker shade. Same concept, same idea, same olive green, only now you're going to add 5 drops of black acrylic and mix it up. So for the last part, what you're going to do is same kind of thing, the same olive green, same black acrylic, only you're going to add about 20 drops of the black. I have a jar from the first build I did that still has some of that colored paint. I don't use straight from that jar anymore. I use it as a color match for what my shaded color should be. So that's what you're watching me doing here, is trying to color match. So what you do for this as well, you use this for your shaded areas as well as accenting different edges and lines and details. What you're going to do is you're going to paint a little bit of the black on there, and then I smear it with the finger. That way it spreads it out a little bit more evenly and gives it a little more organic, realistic smudge look. The last part of the weathering process is going to be adding the wear marks. I use a gunmetal gray, gunmetal silver acrylic paint. Also got it from Michaels. You can also use some other chrome types or anything like that. It all depends on you. I like the gunmetal. It's got a real good armor color to it, in my opinion. And what you're going to do with that is you're going to take a small brush, and I like feathering away around areas that I would assume to be spots where you'd have some wear and tear and abrasion, different edges and corners that might stick out, parts of the armor, pieces that might be more in contact with other armor pieces or bumping into objects in the environment that would naturally have some form of wear and tear to them. You want to keep the brush strokes light and the amount of paint on the brush to be light as well. You want to be ever so slightly brushing on a little bit of paint. This is the end result. in comparison of the new versus old, chest and back. And here is the old chest plate versus new chest plate. The new chest plate is complete. All it is waiting on is the clear coat. Here's the new cod piece that I resized and printed out. It's been finished up and weathered using the same process as all the other parts. Now the parts that have been upgraded to this point debuted at HCS Atlanta 2024 for the FaZe Clan Major. Now to get ready for Dragon Con, I had to finish up my newly sized one-piece thighs. The old ones were not properly sized to me, as well as because they were in multiple pieces. Similar to the old chest piece, they were starting to show a little bit more wear and tear to them. Now, I deliberately printed them with the inside pieces missing. My plan was to replace them with foam, so that way they'd be a little bit more flexible, a little bit more comfortable. And my suit completed up to this point was what I wore to Dragon Con 2024, where I marched in the parade. Got to meet some other Spartans across all generations. Got to meet some awesome creators that we've been following, like SKS Props here, and Bill and Britt from Punished Props. We debuted our Grunt next to Chief. We met some other Master Chiefs and Cortanas. We had a great time, as always, at Dragon Con. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you all learned something. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Look for future videos from other builds, updates to the Grunt, working on a Lord Shax, updating a Titanfall pilot. Follow us on Instagram, follow us here. If y'all like this video, please like and subscribe. That way you'll be alerted for future build videos. Thanks for watching everybody, and we'll see you on the con floor.